Welcome to the Kiwimana Buzz.
Hey guys, this is Gary here, and this is the Kiwimana Buzz, episode 28. And this is a show where we talk about keeping bees, looking after a garden, and we also discuss news, tips and tricks, and interview beekeepers and gardeners from around the world. And that's kind of what we've got today, but it's something a bit different. We're actually having a talk to Lucas Blair. He's a guy from Little Bird Games, and they're developing a game/book for children about bees and pollination. So this is a great cause and a great idea. He's trying to raise money on a thing called Kickstarter, which is designed for businesses and companies to actually raise money for specific projects. So I encourage you to get behind this project, and if you want to look at their Kickstarter page, just go to kiwimana.co.nz/lostbee. So yeah, this week's been a bit crazy. I actually managed to my car rolled down the hill and crashed into a fence, so that was a bit sad. So people on Facebook would have seen that photo, and yeah, a bit of a shocking week. I'll have to get to the panel better tomorrow and get that assessed. Other than that, it's been raining, and we probably this weekend we'll start looking at our bees again because it's spring in New Zealand soon. So yeah, so sit back and have a listen to this interview with Lucas, and I hope you enjoy it. Cheers, guys. Okay, hi everyone, this is Gary here from Kiwimana, and today we've got Lucas Blair from Pennsylvania. Is that right, Lucas?
Yep, that's right.
How are you going today?
Oh, doing well. Oh,
that's great. And Lucas and his team are creating an electronic book called The Lost Bee, and it's a book to teach children how to about pollination and the importance of bees. So would you like to tell us a bit more about that, Lucas?
Yeah, sure. So the book is actually I guess they would call it, it's not just an ebook, it's like an ebook app. So it's the kind of thing that would be on a tablet, and so like think iPad, Android tablets, that kind of thing. And it'll play like a traditional book, so you'll be able to, go through the story and that kind of thing. But one of the things my company also does is we make educational games and simulations. So we wanted to include on some of the pages of the story, actual games that kids can go in and they can play a game as a bee, and then so do worker bee jobs, that kind of thing. And the story for the book is kind of cool. It's we took some liberties. So we're working with subject matter experts from the Xerxes Society and the Center for Pollinator Research at Penn State. So they're keeping us making sure our stuff is as scientifically accurate as possible. But I did take some liberties with the story so we could make a cool children's book. So it's the story is about a bumblebee that gets accidentally raised by honeybees. So then to stay in the hive, the bumblebee has to learn to be a honeybee to stay busy. So that's where the games in the story kind of come in.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I have actually seen bumblebees in the hive, so...
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. That's what... when we got feedback from them, when I told them the story idea originally, they said, no, that won't work. The honeybees would have eaten the bumblebee. And I told them, like, that would be, like, the shortest and saddest children's book story ever if they just found, like, page 2, they're like, and then they ate him. So it would be kind of depressing. So they let me take some liberties so we could make it a better story.
Yeah, well, like after stinging the bumblebee thrown out of the hive, it wouldn't go down too well, would it?
Yeah, we'd have a lot of crying kids. So.
Well, I mean, have you seen the Jerry Seinfeld movie, the Bee Movie?
Yes, I have. I've seen that, and I've seen there was another popular one that I think was about ants or something like that. Maybe that was one of them was like called A Bug's Life or something like that. But yeah, they were pretty,
that's right. Yeah,
pretty popular. Yeah. I don't think I don't know if I think our story follows like the typical story arc. I don't think I invented a new kind of story, but it's the first one that I'd seen where it was, bees and bumblebees. And really the thing for us is we want it to be educational. We want to make kids aware about how honeybee biology works, and then there's some environmental issues addressed in there too. So things like monoculture farming and the use of pesticides and how that affects bees. At one point in the story, the bees have to pack up and kind of move because everybody's getting sick because there were pesticides sprayed by the hive. So things like that were talking about some bigger environmental issues, along with having some hopefully some fun games to play and educational games. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. So why did you choose to aim it at children? Is that because it's sort of where your company's aimed at, or just was it an intentional thing?
Well, we make games for almost everybody. So I've made games for everybody from kindergartners or pre-K all the way up through, Marines, the Army, or we've made them for people that are adult learners. So, pretty much all ages. But I think the reason we chose something for children, and then specifically a children's book and a children's ebook is, if you can teach a kid something or teach a child something or change their opinion about something or make them think about something a different way, then you can have an impact on something for their lifetime. So it's not to say that I don't want to change adults' opinions too or teach them things, but I like that. And then I think, and I say this in our Kickstarter video too, I think we like the idea of a children's ebook because for the age group that we're going for, they probably can't read by themselves, for the story anyway. So it's more like a bedtime story. So then the cool thing is parents will be reading the story with their kids. So then, parents are going to be learning about this. The kids are going to be learning about it. They can, maybe play the games together. So, and we're going to make it so the games in the story are for younger kids, difficulty-wise. But then we're going to have an arcade mode built into it. And the games will actually scale in difficulty, so anybody can play them. Anybody that's interested in bee biology or anything like that, they'll be able to play the games and have fun. So,
oh, fantastic! And so, what platforms does this game or ebook run on? Is it a PC based one, or is it a PlayStation? Or
no, a tablet based primarily will be the ebook. So think your iPads, your Android based devices. Like Kindles, Nooks, that kind of thing. There's a giant cat here behind me. My apologies for that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
right. She's a beast. But yeah, so primarily that. Although for the Kickstarter, we are going to have some special editions that people can get. So the normal book is going to be an ebook. It's going to be the full story. It's going to be narrated, so audio narrated. So you can hit a button, it'll read the story to you by a professional voice actress. 6 games, but then we're going to have some special editions like softcover and hardcover versions of the book that are just, it's only going to be for people that donate to the Kickstarter. So they'll get that, and they'll get the ebook and a PDF that they can just read on a PC or anything and share. So
yeah, oh, that sounds cool. And do you want to just show the audience a few screenshots of it then? Just to get
sure. So I'll
yeah.
show everybody 2 screenshots of some. I'll do a little screen share here. So the first scene here, and this is essentially the first scene in the book, and these are just concept images that we're using for now. But these are all going to be hand painted, and then the game art is going to be painted in a similar style, but digitally. So this is the first scene in the book, and what's happening here is two honeybees who have a hive in the tree up there. They find a larvae on the ground, and they think that it's one of their larvae. So they're gonna, as the story goes, they're gonna take it up into the hive. And then what really happened is if you look here, we wanted to try to represent some biology here. There's an underground hive, which is the honeybee hive. So then it's actually a larvae from there, and then and then so eventually they take the bee into the hive, and then so this is another scene from inside the book, and this has kind of in the ebook we're gonna have kind of a digital overlay, so some added scenes on top of the painting. So this is the bumblebee talking to her honeybee trainer. The bumblebee's name is Bumble. We got pretty creative with it, and the honeybee's name is Beatrice. And they're both female characters, and the Beatrice is in charge of training Bumble to be a honeybee, because they take Bumble to the queen, and the queen says you can stay, but you have to stay busy if you're going to be in the colony. So and then how the book will work as kids are reading through the book. If you see in the lower right hand corner here, there's a little bumblebee icon. If you touch the bumblebee icon at any point, because Beatrice a couple times during the book will say, in this case they're in the nursery, and she's explaining what worker bees do when they're in the nursery. So feed the larvae, clean cells, and the queen inspects their work. And she says, "Would you like to try?" And if the answer is yes, then you hit the little icon, and then a game will load. And then in this case, this is the game for the nursery actually. So what'll happen is the bee will be flying from left to right, and so the hives will be the hive cells will be moving from right to left. And then there'll be little hungry larvae. There'll be little cells that are dirty, and then wherever the player is touching, there'll be a bumblebee on their finger essentially. And then so they can go around, they can feed the larvae and feed just a simple game for little kids. And then the thing will speed up as you go. And then another cool game that we have planned for later on is there are 6 different games in the game, and this is all just a concept art, but foraging. So it's going to be like a top-down flyer. So the Bumble is flying through a field full of flowers, collecting nectar, collecting pollen, that kind of stuff. Hopefully, avoiding some other pollinators, because if you bump into them, then it'll lower your static charge. So I guess they build up a static charge as they're flying that helps them gather pollen and stuff like that. So they'll try to avoid bumping into pollinators, that kind of stuff. So, but each one of the games, we're trying to make them as as accurate as they possibly can be, but still be fun. So because hopefully because when kids read a storybook, they want to read it over and over and over again. So maybe they'll be playing these games over and over again, and then they'll have an understanding, hopefully, of all the things that worker bees do. So all the different jobs they do. So that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, fantastic. So all the different roles of the in the hive, you mean?
Yep. All the different roles. So we have things like you just saw there, feeding the larvae, cleaning different cells in the hive, foraging. We have one where they gather water and then drop it on spots and beat their wings to cool the hive. We have feeding the queen, putting propolis on stuff. So you guys probably know this, but propolis is like the plant resin they put on stuff. It has like antifungal, antibacterial properties, and then it'll seal cracks and stuff, kind of, So just cool little stuff like that. And they're we, like you saw in the nursery game, bees probably don't necessarily fly around a nursery to do that, but the entomologists let us take some liberty so we can make a cool game, but also try to have good learning objectives and good things for kids to learn. So,
I think it's a great idea. I think it's will help kids learn, like just like the Bee Movie with Jerry Seinfeld. It sort of brought awareness of the issues of pollination in the world. So. Yeah,
and what we're going to try to do also is, once we've kind of piqued their interest, hopefully, so kids and parents read this thing, at the end of it, they want to help, they want to do more, because really the story and the games and all the educational material, they're meant to get somebody interested in it and to make them know a little bit more about it and make them maybe aware of some issues. And then we want to also include one of our stretch goals in the Kickstarter is to have things like a pollinator garden planner. So just, when they're done with the thing, we can say, if you want to help bees and other pollinators, then, get outside, plant a garden, we'll help you do it. And then they can, drag and drop some plants, plant a garden as a family maybe right there on their tablet after they played the game, and then we'll tell them, where to go buy the plants, that kind of stuff. So, and then if we can, I'd like to include as many educational things as, just links to other sites, places they can donate. I mean, I think it could be, if you're going to have a whole family gather around a book, reading a story and playing games and getting them interested in a topic, then at the end of the thing, I want them to have as many resources as possible to go out and to help honeybees, to help bumblebees, to help, every pollinator. So,
yeah, absolutely. And maybe even keep bees themselves, maybe.
Absolutely, yep. And I'm amazed. I didn't really know how many until I started. We started doing this project about 6 months ago, and I didn't. I talked to a lot of friends that I didn't necessarily know what their hobbies were, and I'm like, oh, working on a project about bees, and they're like, yeah, I keep bees. I'm like, I know a lot of people, and it shocked me that keep bees. It was crazy to me how many people just, because I've been working with people that have, they're entomologists, so they have many hives, but a lot of people just have a hive in there, or I was just today, my wife and I went for a walk to take pictures at a pollinator garden, and they had little bee houses set up, and there were different pieces of bamboo, and there were bees in each one of them, and there were holes drilled in other pieces of wood, and there were bees in all of those, and it's crazy to me how, and I think it's an awesome thing, but I was just completely unaware of it until. So there are a lot of people doing good stuff and doing things to help out.
Yeah, that's great. And for people that don't know what Kickstarter is, could you just explain the process to people?
Yeah, sure. So Kickstarter is it's a platform. It's a website, more than anything else. But you go to the website, and it's a platform to crowdfund projects. So, people like me that have a good idea and wanna make it, but maybe don't have the funding to actually get the thing made. Now, in our case, we've done quite a bit of. We're gonna do the art and the design and all of that stuff, but then to have somebody actually program, all of the games, and then to do some other editing and things like that. It's a way to say, hey, we want this thing to happen. If you like this idea, then help us crowdfund it, and people essentially pledge an amount, and then for that amount, we send them something as a reward, essentially. So in our case, we have rewards all the way from $4 up to, I think the highest one is like $2,000 or something like that. But so for $4, you get a PDF of the book. For $8, you get a copy of the ebook. And then, like I said, for other things, you get a special edition, like soft covers and hardcover versions of the book, prints, some of the art prints that we're going to have, like the final, paintings and stuff like that, or actually original artwork, and we'll mail it anywhere. So if somebody falls in love with one of the scenes from the book, they can have the art, and we'll the artist and everybody will sign it and stuff like that. So, and it all goes to hopefully something that everybody that certainly the people that listen to your podcast, but something that's good because it's educational, but then it's good because it's for something that's going to help pollinators, help bees. So
yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, and the people have to pledge their money before the 13th. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. So Kickstarter is kind of it's a weird setup. So we don't. It's an all or nothing kind of setup. So for our thing, we need $32,000. That's what we'll cover. Now some of that money is going to. Some of the money is taken off of the top because of the Kickstarter expenses and stuff like that. Like there's a percentage of that it's like the Kickstarter tax basically, and then and then some of it's going to go to creating the rewards and that kind of stuff. But so the rest of it, the money that's left over, we're going to use that, and if it's all or nothing. So we either get $32,000 or we get $0. So it's either it happens or it doesn't. Now you can go over $32,000, and that's what we've built in stretch goals. We have some additional games, like a bee dance game, which will be super cool, where bees use a dance kind of thing to communicate with other bees about the direction of where things are. So we have a game for that, and then we have a game for defending the hive, which is going to be really cool too. There'll be other things trying to get in the hive, and you have to defend them with the other workers. But yeah, so it's all or nothing, and then it's by a certain date. So in our case, it was 30 days, and our 30 days is up September 13th. So September 13th, and that's Eastern Standard Time for anybody that's trying to, that's in New Zealand or some other place that's is a last minute bidder. Remember that we're on Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, so it's all or nothing, and it's September 13th. So either we get the money or we don't by that date.
People probably need to put their bid in quite earlier than the 13th, I would suggest.
The sooner the better. It's funny how these things work, and this is my first Kickstarter. As much work as it's been, it might be my last, we'll see. But yeah, so these things kind of work on, it's almost like a herd mentality kind of thing. When people see other people voting, there's kind of like everybody's like, oh, we got to get in on this, but then if there's like a lull in voting. So yeah, I would say if you're interested in the project and you want to support us, vote now, vote early, and absolutely. And definitely connect with us on. I'll definitely send you anybody that pledges. I'll definitely send them a message. But connect with us on social media and stuff like that too. So if anybody uses Twitter or Facebook or anything like that, we're trying to send out as many messages on that. That's a really good way to reach a lot of people. So sharing those things. Or sharing the project on those platforms is a really good thing. That would help us out a lot too. So,
yeah, and we've actually made a shortcode, everyone, guys, for this. It's called if you go to kiwimana.co.nz/lostbee, it's lostbee. That'll give you the site. That'll transfer to the Kickstarter pledge page, and we'll also include that pledge page in the show notes for this at a later date. We just got some questions here, Lucas, from some people.
Okay.
First one's from Tyson. He's just saying, who is doing the artwork for the project?
My wife actually is doing the paintings and the game art. My wife is she painting and drawing is kind of her specialty, and then I've kind of wrangled her in. She does a lot of our game art, our video game art as well. So she does all of that. So
okay, that sounds good. And Matisse said what really interested my kids was if the bees sleep during winter, and if not. So, and what is going on in the hives? So maybe that's something to include in the story. Because I know there's a misconception that bees hibernate.
Yeah,
which is not true.
And my understanding of it is that they all pretty much. I guess you would say that this story takes place in one summer, basically, because it's pretty much everybody's gone at the end of the summer. So like we don't really include that. And I guess. To answer the other question a little bit more, I said my wife, and I didn't say her name. If I don't give her credit for this, my wife's name is Danielle. So if you go to our company's website, you can see Danielle on there too. But yeah, so I think that would be an interesting thing to address either in the story or maybe in one of the games. I think it was maybe a darker theme than we wanted to touch on in a children's book or like a pre-K thing where it's like, hey, fall's here, all the bees are going away. But I think it's interesting, and we would like to, if this project works out, I think, the person that asked the question got me thinking about this. We've talked about, expanding into other stories. So, like, since this is, in this story, it's Bumble meeting honeybees and learning to be a honeybee. I would love to do something where Bumble meets butterflies and learns to be a butterfly. Maybe Bumble could be the pollinator ambassador. I don't know, but I think there's a lot of. It's the kind of thing that I would really like to expand the story at some point and have new games and new stories and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, and Matisse has said he's gonna put a link to the Kickstarter account on his blog. So thanks Matisse for doing that. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you, Matisse. That's awesome. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. So how are you feeling with how's it going so far with the Kickstarter account?
I haven't checked it this evening yet, but I think we're at like maybe 10 or 12%, so a little bit behind, I guess. Number wise, we're probably, since we're a week in as of today, so 7 days, like right around today. Yeah. So we're a little bit behind, but I think these things, Kickstarters in general, tend to have like a bubble in the beginning, and then kind of like a slow build up, and then there's like a mad dash at the end of pledges, where it's like, because people are like, oh, I'll get to it, and then like 2 weeks from now, I'm going to go back, I'm going to be like, everybody that said they were going to pledge, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, that thing. So it's like, there's always like a last minute like surge and stuff, but so yeah, I think we're at like maybe 12%, like 10 to 12% funded now, but we got to keep getting it up there. We just added new rewards last night, 4 new rewards for people that are, and it's for schools, so people can donate to any school that's in Pennsylvania. They can donate, essentially, pay for a certain amount, and then we'll go to that school and we'll do read the story, play the games with them, do pollinator activities, and then for the older kids, we'll teach them game design and stuff like that, and that's going over well. And then, like I said earlier, we've added voice narration. So that voice narration used to be a stretch goal, and I think it was something we wanted to add just as a regular part of the book. So the book will read to you, so it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, guys, it's I think this is a great project. So I hope everyone gets behind it and it gets the message out to the children because let's be honest, they're the future, and they're the future beekeepers, aren't they? So get the more kids into bees, the better, I say.
Absolutely.
Eventually, eventually the children of the day are going to be the ones ruling the country, aren't they, or the world? So.
Totally, yeah. And if you can get a bunch of kids interested in pollinators and bees, and then just science in general, like I just like the idea of kids being interested in bugs and nature and science at an early age. That's awesome. I mean, you can completely you can completely change their career path, or maybe the education they would try to get, or all of that stuff, just by inspiring someone really like that. So that's kind of one of the goals of this kind of thing. So
yeah. Well, I think the big thing is make them aware that they're not to fear bees, because a lot of kids are very scared of bees.
Yeah.
Which is,
unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty unfortunate.
Yep. Yeah, and we talk about, one of the things the other bees talk about in the book is they explain what pollination is. They explain why it's important. And then that leads up to the foraging game, where you go out and you actually do the nectar and pollen collection and stuff like that. So we definitely try to touch on those things to say this is why bees are important, and this is why we need to protect them and stuff. So
yeah, for sure. And Matisse has just asked, I know the project's just started, but would this expand to different languages?
We could definitely do. I think the answer is yes. I mean, the one good thing about doing an ebook app as opposed to something that's in print, that's as easy as just we can update it at any point. So I think that's definitely something. My wife speaks Portuguese. My wife Danielle speaks Portuguese and Spanish. So. I only speak bad English, so for me, you're stuck with that. But so I think things like Portuguese, Spanish, and then definitely whatever other languages are interested in it, we'll do our best to accommodate. So yes, I think at some point it definitely will be. For the text anyway. I don't know about the voice narration unless we have any volunteers to read it in other languages.
Yeah, well maybe Matisse will be reading it in a different language.
Absolutely.
I'll just ask him where he's from. I think he's from Europe somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, we've got Portuguese and Spanish covered. So.
Oh, okay. Yep. Oh, that's good. Well, that's a big percentage of the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think isn't Spanish one of the biggest languages in the world?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely a lot of different
No, that's
continents.
great. That's great. Well, cheers, Lucas, coming along, and we'll get this out there pretty soon, so we can get some more people to pledge for you.
Okay, great.
So guys, get out there, kiwimana.co.nz/lostbee, donate some money, and yeah, thanks a lot. And just so thanks everyone for listening, and we really appreciate you guys listening and watching this interview with Lucas. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.